structures, but restorative justice has been a passion of mine. I studied restorative justice and how you can use those models to resolve disputes. And I am also right now in environmental mediation and seeing what can help people talk about some of the issues that we have coming up today. So I think I've seen you on a meeting. I think I've seen you, Mr. Lux, in some meetings in MBBI. So I'm not sure, perhaps.
In a mediation in BVI?
No, MBB, Mediators Beyond Borders. I think maybe I've seen you in one of those meetings. Have you attended a few of the meetings?
Now and then.
Yes, it seems like I've seen you in maybe one or two because I'm also active in MBBI.
But Mr. Lux, there was that interesting webinar that you were in that about using AI in mediation. I thought that was a very interesting topic. That was a very interesting topic.
Yes, I was really surprised to be invited by that particular university to participate. They invited two what they described as their non-academic partners. There was a chap from IBM. Now I can well understand why IBM would be involved with AI, but why me? You know, an old dog. I would have thought that you'd want some younger blood looking at AI and embracing the future of that. Anyway, I was very pleased to be invited. I find it fascinating, and it's right on the cusp.
I didn't end up watching the whole thing. I had something else to do, but I thought that the whole topic was something which is it's interesting. I mean, I don't know how it's going to pan out. Maybe there are some maybe low value matters which might start getting resolved through AI and machine learning and everything. So well, I think
there are precedent. I mean, is it Amazon? There are one or two.
Yeah, I think eBay. I think they try that or something.
AI-assisted resolution systems, but it's quite crude at the moment. And I think since you very frankly confessed that you'd not watched the full thing, then I can tell you the conclusion. Not just of myself, but also of the IBM guy and a very interesting professor from Columbia University in New York. The conclusion is that, it's going to be machines assisting human resolution for the foreseeable future, not machines with machine learning taking over from humans. So that's a reassurance to myself as arbitrator and mediator that I'm not about to be out of a job.
There was a software actually developed in Canada from a gentleman. I think it's Smart Settle, but I'm not sure. I worked on that software a long time ago in negotiation, using negotiation and some of the Ben Franklin theoretical values so that you could use this software to help negotiate a better settlement. And I mean, I think that would be your crude precursor, but I found it really fun to work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fascinating. And when I left the international law firm I was with about 10 years ago, I was really quite worried for most of my years in practice. I had a PA who was like my right arm. She did everything for me, from really everything that needed doing on the administrative front, and I was worried how I would cope on my own without that. But the technology just in the last 10 years has moved so far and so fast that it's actually not difficult to, dictate stuff, voice recognition, Siri and so on, Alexa, all this stuff, which makes things so much easier for a relative incompetent like myself to cope without outside assistance. So it's brave new world.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that things, if you can use technology to your advantage, things have become very easy. I mean, look, I'm here sitting alone and I'm handling this, whatever you call it, a show. I call it a show, and handling it. It's like seamless. It just goes on. So I think if you use technology to your benefit, I think things can become very easy. We can. But Kathleen, what do you think about AI in mediation? Any thoughts on that?
I work with a model. I do lawsuit mediations with a company that's kind of doing it here in the United States. They actually have a temperature gauge where they allow the parties to make offers for the first 20 minutes, and then I mediate the rest of the money. I know it's not AI, but it's the use of an instrument to assist the mediation process. I kind of like it. I'm watching the temperature gauge go up. I see the offer number. Everything is confidential unless the parties want to reveal it. And I don't know, in addition to that, I don't know if we can develop a computer that has the creativity of the human mind. You know, our right brain and left brain bouncing back and forth, I think is pretty incredible machinery on its own. So yeah. I don't know. I really don't know.
I think maybe we can't imagine, but I think in terms of the whole concept of the machine understanding emotions and from the tone of the voice, everything can happen. But Louis is here, so I just get him in. So interesting things can happen. I think we're getting there. So I think let Louis will tell us about himself. Hi, Louis.
Hello. I will apologize in a second and explain why I was late, but thank you for being there. Thank you for your patience.
No, people, actually, I did not. I told them the basic about why you were late, but how much you can disclose to us, how much you can tell us, please tell us. That's the most interesting part. Then I'll introduce you to everyone. But I also wanted to know what happened.
Okay, I will tell you now. I have in Peru we have elections tomorrow. Tomorrow for me, tomorrow is Sunday. And it's the first time in history that there's two people that went to the second round has less than, I don't know, 10% of the votes, because we have many candidates. And it's extremely right and it's extremely left. So if you thought that Trump election in states was polarizing, that's kind of nothing. But here we are also, we have reports of the intelligence and police that we will have unrest after the election, after the results. And the funny thing is that they are kind of tight in the polls. So tomorrow we are going to have the results at 7 p.m. Lima time, Peru time, but the final official results will be by Friday. So we're going to have a week of potential lot of distress in the streets. And yesterday we set up 4 teams to be with the police force, with mediators, in order to prevent the population take over and harm the police. So we're going to be mediating potentially in struggle in the streets with police force around the government palace, the Congress, and the 2 institutions that oversee the elections. And we are doing a preparation work, and we are convening the ombudsman and the cardinal of the Catholic Church, and I was having a conversation with the cardinal of the Catholic Church at this time. So they are having, I set up the meeting and then I had to go.
But that's very nice that you're using mediators at that point. I think that's a very good thing. I think countries need to take that example and do it themselves, because that's a very good concept.
Yeah.
But let me first introduce you to everyone here.
Yeah.
First of all, Mr. Lux is a very senior mediator in UK. And he'll also, I mean, he can tell you more about himself also, but he's like, if I start introducing everyone in that sense, it's going to take half the show. So let me, and then we have Lisa. Lisa is in Cincinnati.
He knows me. Hi.
You know her. Okay. Then there is Gunasilan is in Chennai in India, southern part of India. Kathleen is in, I don't know where in the US she is, because she roams all around. So today where she is, we don't know. Or wherever she is.
West Texas. I'm in West Texas.
Okay, so right now she's in Texas.
For the show.
And Kato is in Japan. And Sultan is in Turkey, in Ankara. So that's the people here. But you have to tell us, Louis, what all are you doing? What are the interesting things that you're doing? I mean, when I read, I see so much happening.
Well, I work as a mediator, private, helping government in several capacities, but as a mediator, as independent, as a neutral. Private companies, local communities, indigenous groups. But since January this year, the Peruvian government that is going to a transition government convened 4 professional mediators. And I'm in charge of, well, we have let's see, the Prime Minister's office has a Secretary of Dialogue and Social Management.
Wow.
And this secretary has 3 deputies or 3 subsecretaries. And mine is the one called Conflict Management Secretary. And we oversee all social conflicts in Peru, all social conflicts that could jeopardize democracy and governance, or governance. So if they are human rights at risk, if they have rallies and protests in the streets, that's when they call us. We set up dialogue tables, and we do preparation for these dialogues. We convene with different parties, and we are dealing with indigenous groups, local communities, city hall, regional government, like governors, and other branch of the government, like education, health, and transportation. We have strikes of truckers. So we have all kind of conflicts that you can imagine. So, and there's a lot of mining industry, and
Oh, that's really nice. So you have to tell us, what is the experience been like? It's working? Is the whole concept working there?
Yes, but it's kind of interesting because this office has been in place for maybe, I don't know, 10 years, and with other names, a little bit more time, but it's the first time in history, sounds a lot. It's the first time that we have 4 professional mediators, facilitators, mediators, that have like private practice and practice in multilateral organizations. And it's the first time that we are setting up processes, procedures, methodology. Even communities get, I don't know if shock, but they have never had the experience of having somebody having a flip chart and putting post-its and writing their thoughts, and people see their words. Thing that for us could be so common and typical, well, they are not used to, because normally here was, okay, the public official comes, I will listen to you guys, they speak, and the government does kind of nothing with that. So it's the first time that we are visually hearing and listening to people. And that has a potential impact, I think.
But how do the people?
I'm sorry?
How do the people look at it? Because the point is that in a way you're being appointed by the government, and then you are coming in as a mediator. In that sense, what is the general perception of people on that?
Well, you have different perceptions. I mean, for the third parties, the people outside the conflict, they, I think they see us with hope. But when we start engaging with people, if we talk, for instance, with the company and we start talking about building relations and critical thinking and mutual gains and being creative, they are looking at us like, why are you using so much philosophy? What do you mean by creative? We're creative. So that's one side. And then the other side, we have the communities that we are asking questions, and we are asking so many questions to deeply understand their interests, their needs, their concerns, the wishes, the hopes, the fears. But they are like, why you ask me so much? I send you a letter. Don't you understand the problem? So it's like, okay, so you need to do some pedagogy through your work as well.
Because I did a little discussion on the role of mediators in social problem solving. But one part of that discussion, what came up was that who are those people on the table in that mediation? Who represents the issue? Whom do you get on the table? That was something I could not, really come out with an answer on. So what do you think on that?
Right. Well, ideally, you have the legal representatives, but then you can set up representatives ad hoc, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's people that you select, the people can trust on them, so they will represent their concerns, be their voice. But it's funny here in Peru that you have, for instance, a local community, you have a mayor of this town, and then the guy who remained at the second place in the election, he forms or she forms their own Frente de Defensa, the defense group of citizens. Okay. So they are like a parallel and even sometimes more a group with more legitimacy representing the voice of the community. No. Because sometimes the local government turn into corruption by the dark side, and then they are accusing him, and these little informal leaders become the voice of the communities. So we need to engage all those formal and informal leaders.
That's very interesting, because I'm telling you, this is something that needs to go to every country. This needs to be done. What you're doing, I don't think is happening everywhere. I don't know whether it's happening anywhere else. I mean, these people, Mr. Lux will tell us if something like that is happening in the UK. But I think that this is something which is really has to be done. I mean, this is where we were with Ken Cloak also. That is what his focus is. That I think we need to get mediators there.
Well, it's funny because in Latin America, like in the region, people look at Peru like, oh, you are advancing so much in mediation, like social or government mediation for social unrest and conflict. But yes, we have done a lot legal-wise. Like we have a lot of norms and regulation, but the capacity of the people executing those norms or people playing the role of mediators, they are not really real mediators. So they are public officials. So you have norms, but you have an either or mindset, and you have this competitive approach or very legal approach. You're right or you're wrong. So yes, we have advanced a lot, but in Peru, the guys that we study a little bit this and we have a little practice, we say, yeah, we have a lot of legal structure, but there's no much human or capacity or social capacity, social capital or capacity to do this work.
Okay, so at least there's a step towards that. That's a good thing. At least the framework is there, and then people would, because I think down at the community level, is there work happening there at the community level in terms of mediation? Is there work there in community mediation? Is there work happening on that?
You know, this is funny because I don't know, 30 years ago we started doing conciliation, kind of prerequisite to go to court. but that kind of damage the name of mediation conciliation. Little community, because it didn't work, and many lawyers took it as a business, and then I will sell you just the agreement, which or not agreement, saying parties came and didn't work. But we have a piece of justice that is a kind of colonial thing in the United States. I think you guys have the same. But those are individuals that are respected by the community, and they kind of sit two parties in conflict and help them talk things through. But there's no real community mediation centers or institutions. One of my wishes when I came back to Peru after living in the States was I would love to build consensus building, negotiation, mediation capacity among social leaders, because that will reduce the probability of getting on rallies, sticks, stones, burning stuff in the streets, if you believe you have more capacity or believe you can reach solutions in a different way.
At least the main thing is that they're active. Mr. Lux, I'll just get you in, but let me Rafaela's here. She's in Italy. She can say hi to us before we. Yes, Rafaela, you want to say hi to us? Okay, Rafaela, come in. Yes, Mr. Lux, you were saying something.
No, just a question, if I may, Luis. I wasn't clear. Maybe that's my fault. Are you employed by the government for the functions you described at the beginning of your talk, or are you independent and hired, if you like, by both parties to manage discussions?
Simple question is, I'm a public official, but appointed by the Prime Minister of Peru, which is a trusting position. If the Prime Minister goes, I will need to go. I will need to present my resign letter. So in Peru, you have, like in England, you have a king, a prime minister, and ministers. We have president, prime minister, and this prime minister has this conflict management office. And
we'll know by next Friday whether you're still employed.
Right. In July 28th, when we have the change of government. So by August, I will be presenting my resignation letter. Yeah.
Or maybe not. Or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
Yes.
Well, I have to. It will depend. If the government is smart, they will say, "Okay, you guys stay."
Yeah. No, I think finally it's the credibility of the person which comes into play. I think people understand what they're doing. I think then that it might start as a political appointment, but I think after that it is the person, what they're doing, and everyone, but the people know, and I think they know what the person is doing.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's not a political appointment, because none of us are politicals or politicians, and the government appointed us as who are the best here in Peru to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, perfect. But anyone else wants to come in at any point of time, just raise your hand and we can get in. So tell us, Luis, what else are you doing? I mean, when you were doing your own, I mean, as terms of private practice, that continues, or this is the whole time now?
Legally, I can just only teach as be a trainer with the university. I can do nothing else, but I don't have any time, because when they kind of hire me, they say this job is 24/7, and I didn't believe it. And it's for real. I mean, this is late time. This is awesome. I'm having fun here, because at 11 I have another meeting, and at 2 I have another meeting. So I work from Sunday to Sunday.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's intense.
So what are you waiting for the government to change? The government is not going to be very happy with you, but you want to just give your resignation and move on.
Yeah, and we are. It's funny because a mediator profession is very lonely, because other people don't think how we guys think, right? Yeah. So people look at us like from one side, they look at us like, oh, you are on the other side. And from that other side, they think that we are on this side. So it's very...
Yeah, no, I understand. So, Rafaela, are you going to introduce yourself or not? You'll have to just unmute yourself.
I apologize because I'm home and I have my dogs barking, so I don't want to disturb.
Okay, so just thought you can say hi to Louis also and everyone else. And
hi, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. Very happy to connect with mediators from all over the world. Thank you, Vikram, for inviting me.
But where in Italy are you? Where in Italy are you? You'll have to, yeah.
I'm in center of Italy, Perugia, which is near Rome. Rome, say the capital.
Okay.
Very close to Rome.
My grandmother from my father's side came from Florence.
Firenze, Florence,
Yeah,
right.
Firenze.
No. But did you finally, have you been there? Have you traced your roots? Louis?
I've been in Rome and in Venice, and I couldn't go to Florence. Yeah.
You can't do that. You have to go there, trace the roots, find that house where your grandmother grew up. But you have to tell us more about in terms of the work and education and all. You've done interesting things. So please, that part of it, let's just get that on the out. Then we'll have the other conversation with you. So in terms of your work, what else have you done? You were teaching as a professor, and before that?
Yeah. So I'm working for the government or with the government, and I'm teaching. That's the only two things that I'm doing right now. But this is starting January 1st. So before that, I was doing facilitating dialogue, digital dialogue. So yeah, using Zoom. COVID time in Peru, we have had an awful situation, a lot of deaths. So we are using a lot of Zoom. And I'm here at home and I do remote work. So I don't go to the office. Sometimes I need to fly to cities or go in car to other cities. But we are doing a lot of digital dialogue with the government. Before that, I was doing training and digital facilitation, just online private service. So yeah, and we didn't go out, and I do some negotiation coaching with some people who are going to engage in a complex negotiation. I do some advising or consulting on that.
But there was an interesting thing. Please finish. You were saying something.
No, it's yeah, we are living a challenging times. That 2020 was like, it's like you pause. Life was just pause. What's going on? So we are dealing with the world through this, and we are engaging in more of this stuff. But for instance, 2018, I was spending more time in Ecuador than in Peru because I was facilitating a year-long dialogue to reach agreement between an indigenous community in the jungle in Ecuador and a Canadian mining company that wanted to do exploration in that area. But they used to have a 11-year conflict because of some land dispute. So the community called me in and I went to help them to reach an agreement. So now they are doing joint exploration. And it's cool because in the stock market, this company is going, their stock price, the share price is going up because they have a great social engagement practice.
Did you invest in it or not? No. Did you invest in the stock?
No.
Okay, well, this is interesting work. I mean, this is really interesting work. This is what we need. We want mediators to be doing these kind of things, which is, I think, well, like I said, again, this is what the kind of things that Ken Cloak was talking about, that they should be out there doing these kind of things. So I think it's very interesting. But what about that ombudsman experience that you had? You were...
Okay, let's put it this way. I haven't been in the ombudsman office. We have a government ombudsman office. I have done training for them. So I trained them in consensus building and negotiation and mediation. But you have the idea of organizational ombudsman, and I have developed in a couple of companies. In one company, the idea, and the other one more kind of implementation of what an organizational ombudsman can do is like a mediator inside the company. Yeah.
But
to dispute normally with, I'm sorry, HR stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. That's an area which I think needs to develop in India, because that hasn't happened. But the problem that has happened is that the ombudsman concept with the public utilities, there is a concept where it's like a med-op kind of thing. So if the mediation is not successful, he passes an order, which is, I think, a bit of a problem in terms of the terminology when we understand it here, which is a problem, I think.
Well, that's interesting. In Peru, it's just a mediator, and even not a mediator, because it's the only kind of government institution created by the Peruvian Constitution, but they don't have kind of teeth to enforce stuff. They just are is the most respected entity of the government, because it's the only one who can call out the government. Hey, you are not doing this. Hey, you are not doing that. That's the only job that they do. But people trust on them.
Yeah, no, I think you need that. I think that kind of thing develops. I think it's a good thing. But for some reason, we have a similar concept with the government kind of thing. But that also really, I think the problem is, whom do you appoint? Because someone is going to question the government. Then how is the government going to appoint such a person? It's I think a difficult thing there. But I don't know whether this kind of experience, again, I'll ask Mr. Lux, is there a ombudsman concept which has developed in UK?
Yes, but the ombudsman comes to a decision.
That's what I'm saying. This is, yeah.
So, and yes, there are several. I mean, there's financial services, ombudsman, legal services. Actually, there's a bit of a scandal at the moment because funding has been dwindling, and so the delays are becoming chronic. But anyway, there is an ombudsman service in all sorts of different areas.
This is what's happened here also, because we have the banking ombudsman, the insurance ombudsman,
yeah.
But then finally, if that whole mediation is not successful, they pass an order, which I think, because in the US, the concept of the word is used for a person who's a pure mediator and nothing beyond that. So I think this.
Yeah, but I don't think it was ever that. Over here, it's always each party to make their their submissions to the ombudsman, and the ombudsman reaches a decision which isn't binding. If either party doesn't like it, and doesn't perform what's directed, then the remedy of the other is to go off to court.
But Lisa will tell us what is the US experience with ombudsman?
My experience is the ombudsman's office in the city is more of a way for someone, a citizen, to have a voice when the power structure is huge. And so the ombudsman opens up a way for them to have a voice. So it's to advocate, really, I mean, in some ways, advocating for the little person, or trying to provide that gateway. And so it's to find some way to give a voice to those who don't have a voice. And so that's how the ombudsman's office works. They do use mediation, but they're not necessarily mediators. So, and in fact, we've had the ombudsman office refer mediation to the mediation center rather than do mediation themselves, because they are, since they're advocating, they're not neutral.
Okay. Perfect.
Actually, since it was raised, of course, there are all sorts of hybrids, but the property ombudsman approached a mediation group that I have a connection with and asked whether we would provide mediation services, because there are such delays that they have a growing number of dissatisfied people coming to them because they're kept waiting. So they thought one way of unblocking things was to refer the people to a mediation service. So we've been asked to provide that mediation service for those that disgruntled group. But technically the service provided by the ombudsman is a little bit difficult, and it's really to hold different entities to the regulations that they should be following. So if it's the banking sector, are the banks following the regulations that apply? The same with the financial services sector, the same with the legal sector, lawyers' fees, sometimes some quite outrageous fees, and they've not followed the Law Society guidelines. So the ombudsman is there to try and ensure compliance. Yeah.
But Louis, what else? I mean, please tell us all the when I look at your profile here and I see all these interesting things you've done, please tell us about all that. I'll have to take you through each of them.
I can share some pictures if you want.
Yes, please do that. Please do that. One sec. Let me.
Okay, and I will tell you maybe a little story behind every picture, and maybe that triggers some ideas. Okay.
Yes, that's what we need.
And if anybody has a question, please just
put your hand
pick up. I will not be able to see the chat, so just speak up.
No, I'll get them in. Gunasilan, I'll just get you in later, after this.
To what?
No, Gunasilan have had his hand up. We'll get him after this, after the presentation.
Okay. So let me do this. Here I came back to Peru, and I was working with the National Water Authority doing some consulting, and they wanted to do some sort of stakeholder assessment of a region because they wanted to have a mining project, and the community was against that. And they said, oh, all these people are very violent, don't go and talk with them. So I went there and do some kind of dialogue, difference between dialogue and debate, and be kind with the person and tough with the problem. And I had a training and everybody was smiling. So that idea of these people are violent, it was not real. So I was doing, it's like a huge focus group mixed with a training.
But Lulu,
yes.
Why are you not wearing a hat like that? Such nice hats they're wearing. This is what you need.
Actually, the guy running for president wears a hat like that all the time, and people got kind of shocked.
I wear a hat like that when I play golf. I wear a hat like that.
Good. So that was 2012, and that was in the same area, the same region. This is more like a community assembly. This is a whole community, very extent area, and they came together to make decisions. And that's a kind of the board, the board, the people who make decisions, but they ask questions and they have that kind of dialogue. And I was participating on that too. So then the community went to the lake that the mining company will potentially affect or impact. So they went rallies, a lot of people, and they invite me to go and talk with them. It was very scary. That's why I'm there with that thing. Then I was participating in a dialogue table with a regional government, because the regional government convened a dialogue table because a mining company had a problem with a community as well. And that's the project that I mentioned in Ecuador. in 2018. So it was more like Indiana Jones arriving there and having these amazing conversations, always using kind of post-its.
Yes, I can see that.
Cards, and yeah, I'm having here like multi-voting when we help people to identify their needs and potential development projects, and they came together and decided putting sticky little stickers, 5 stickers, vote for the one you like the most, and then we reach an agreement.
But tell me, Louis, in terms of the language, I mean, is there a dialect issue or anything like that?
Yes, some of them speak Spanish. I speak Spanish, but they have their own language. So the first time I arrived there, it was very challenging because I had a translator from the community, but I need to have another translator because I didn't know if what I was saying was being translated correctly. So I had a translator that speaks so the language, but she told me what the translator was telling. Does that make sense? So it was my confirmation message translator.
But that's very important. That's the most important part, that the communication happens properly.
Right. And it's funny because I wanted to do some educational piece, and I set up my day for like 8-hour training. And what I was planning, all the content I was planning to deliver in 8 hours, I was able to deliver in the whole day what fit in half an hour of my full day program, because it was so challenging. And yeah, but so you need to prepare for the uncertainty, I guess.
But how did they respond? I mean, they responded properly with you in terms of the welcoming you into the community and all that. All that was okay.
Yes, I think my indication, the benchmark or whatever I use to measure is the smiles of people. If they smile, we're good. And if they start making jokes with me, that's good. So I arrived to this community and I was introducing myself, and I had an opportunity to meet leaders before I came to this community. I came to this community because I met 10 leaders of this community and they invited me to go. So I was not going like a cold call. They were expecting me, they invited me to go. But when I was introducing myself, somebody said something like, "Oh, Luis, did you know that our community is really famous in the world because we are the ones who we reduce the heads of the enemy." So they have a process, and it's like in the movies, right? But they were laughing and they said, "Well, but we don't do that with people who has no hair." So yeah. Interesting thing. Yeah.
But tell me, that's you with that headgear? Is that you sitting there?
Yeah, yes, this is me.
Oh, on the right, no, with the headgear there. On that little.
This one?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. This was one of the leaders of the community.
Okay. So that's that sign of the leader. He wears that.
Yes.
And but what is the social structure that? I mean, is there? I mean, the proper hierarchy. The leader is whatever he says, you have to listen to. Or do people talk to you otherwise also?
That's a great question, because some of the challenges was the community wanted the company return a property, a piece of land that the community sold to the company. So I need to explain to the community how the company makes decisions. And you have the board of directors, you have a manager, and you have a lot of people who owns the company. And I had to do a parallel between the assembly of the community, the board of the leaders, and so to help them realize what's the decision-making process. And yes, they have a leader, they have like the president of the community, you have a board of directors of the community, and you have the big assembly of the community. The decisions are based on the big assembly of the community. If the assembly wants, they can kick out the head or the whole border. In Peru, for instance, we have the same structure in the rural or indigenous areas. And sometimes you have internal community conflicts because the board of directors from the community, they cut a deal with the company, a mining company, and then they hide the results, or they do it for their own interest and not interest of the community. So then the community kick them out and then have a conflict. And the company say, you don't respect our agreements. Well, that agreement was fishy. So, yeah.
Well, but Louis, is there some kind of, I mean, has there been any violent kind of thing happening in such kind of circumstances anywhere in Peru or Ecuador or anywhere else on this, in terms of this mining kind of issue or something where the community has taken to arms? Has that happened anywhere?
Here it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. Not arms like going shooting, but you have all the people going to the street and maybe you see a truck burning. So.
Okay. No, because we have one part of India which is affected by that, because there are a lot of mining in that area which happens, and people have taken to arms there, and a lot of it's a big issue there.
For instance, last week, I don't know, it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you have in Peru the coast, the highlands, and the jungle. And the jungle is very, very poor, not very developed. You don't have energy in many places. So this little town, little tiny town, was asking for energy. And the mayor of this town took the money, and the money disappeared. So they were around the little city whole town, and then they got drunk at night and they burned the whole city hall. So the infrastructure, they burned it down. So that happened a couple days ago.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not like that everywhere. Okay. Please,
okay. No.
Don't be afraid. Come and do tourism in Peru. I will welcome them. I will welcome you.
Good.
But I'm telling you the awful side that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because that part of it is an issue some places, definitely, because they think their land is being taken away, and I mean, okay, I can understand their situation also.
But that's so far from where I am, because it's not, well, in maybe in European terms, not in India terms, it's far. But to go there, I need to take a plane for 2 hours, get into a car for 2 more hours, get into a little airplane, little tiny airplane, like 4 people airplane, for 1 hour, and then get into a public transportation pulled by a motorcycle for, I don't know, 50 minutes. So it's in the middle of nowhere. Okay. So you will not see that.
Yeah.
Here, this was a very nice situation. This guy is the head of the local community that was blocking a road of a mining company for 60 days. So the economy in the country was like getting into trouble. This guy is the prime minister. And this guy, the community leader, one of his advisors came to me and said, Luis, we want to talk with the government. So I went to talk with one minister, and the minister said, no, we don't need to talk with these guys. And then, well, okay, maybe we can do something with the church. And this guy asked me, can we be able to be listened to by the cardinal, by the head of the church? And I said, yes, we can set up that. So we set up that in the morning, and later in the day, the Prime Minister of Peru, at that time, he arrived. And they started having a conversation, a dialogue. But here, I came in just because the advisor of this community leader called me in, but nobody paid me for that job. I mean, it's like maybe helping somehow as convener, but very informal and not pay anything. So the government thought I was working with the community thought I was working with the church thought I was working with the ombudsman office, so nobody knows what the hell this guy is doing here. But I was just, well, let's try to make people talk kind of thing, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, here are some of the community leaders of the Ecuador project, and after reaching an agreement, they came to Peru to share the story of what happened. If you want me to stop, you just tell me.
Oh no, please go on. We like
Okay.
this. This is what we do.
Here this was the beginning of 2020, like April, when the lockdown started, and I started facilitating this kind of dialogue among low-scale informal miners because they wanted to get organized. So we start talking, and then I was doing some open space kind of thing. Zoom was April 2020, like COVID and Zoom were getting very famous.
But what is the connectivity like in Peru?
What?
Internet connectivity, how is it in Peru?
It varies because in the cities, in the coast, we're good. In the highlands is not so good, and in the jungle is terrible.
But in the sense, can it be relied upon as a platform for dispute resolution? Is it going to be like that?
Say that again?
Will we be able to rely upon the video conferencing for mediations? Will that happen?
I will show you a picture here where the dialogue fell apart because the internet connection was so bad, and people, let's say, if people start thinking, well, this Zoom thing don't work, and we say, well, we have reached 800 agreements in 6 months, but then the system falls and the interconnection goes down, yeah, we lose credibility, and this system is poop, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I will show you a picture of not that terrifying moment, but at least, yeah. So this is kind of the Zoom meetings we have, and we are here. Like this picture is here, and you have community people in the room.
Okay. So this whole hybrid concept.
Yes, yeah, we call this, like, I don't know if it translates, semi-presential, like half, yeah, a mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the same. And here, this community, these are the leaders of a community of a huge lake. I should put a picture of the lake. A huge lake that the natural dam is potentially going to break if it rains more than normal, and global warming and climate change it will affect. But if this dam breaks, 20,000 people could get in deep problems, and many could die. But this community is having a conflict with the energy company who supposedly manage the dam. But the community has kind of the keys to open the gates of the dam, so they do not control the water. So that's why the dam is potentially going to break. Well, now we passed that risk. But they were saying the land never, the lake is part of our land. Land is our mother nature. Land will never affect us or do harm to us. And so you have two different cultures, and how you explain the risk for the Occidental way of thinking of the city. So they didn't want even to talk, they didn't want to listen to the government. So we came to this place, we start having some conversation. This is the secretary, like my boss, and I'm here. And then after this first time talking, they kind of opening their heads to listen to us. Then we set up, okay, we're going to start a dialogue process. And this Lego head is me. This is the governor. No, this is the governor. This is the mayor. And then we set up this initial kind of pre-dialogue table. And you have government officials, community leaders, flip chart, me doing ground rules for the talk, for the conversation, and then reaching an agreement. And the agreement was we're going to start a dialogue table in few days. And we're going to start the dialogue table in that next to the lake.
But Louis, that looks like that the agreement was already decided. There was something already printed when you went there.
No. We are talking, and this guy is typing while we are talking.
Very nice. Okay, so it all happened there.
Yes, real time. And the funny thing is that we don't have a printer. So this guy needs to go to some sort of like I don't know, don't remember how you call, but to a little store that they have a printer, and you come with a USB and say, please print this. And they need to come, and then we read it. And there was some wording that was not correct. So we need to tell, hey, you need to correct this. So they get into the computer again.
And it goes back there.
Yeah, but
So
that's part
basically,
of it.
okay, so that's the only guy who was not very happy with the whole thing.
and he was the big lawyer, the big shot guy, the lawyer, best advisor of the governor of that region. But yeah.
No, but it's good. At
So-
least everything happened right there. So that's really nice.
Yeah. Then this is another case where we are the facilitators. This is my colleague and me. These are mayors. This is the Ministry of Mining and Energy. And here you have, this side, you have the community leaders of 4 cities that they are against mining companies in that area. So these are the guys. This is the same room, but we are broadcasting through Zoom and through Facebook this dialogue. So I'm then explaining stuff. So these are the mayor talking, and people in Zoom, they look at this, how the conversation goes. This was very challenging. I went to the jungle. This is another place that I arrived, like airplane, car, little tiny plane, mini plane, and then little bike. And these people were protesting in front of a city hall because they said the mayor is corrupted. He stole the money of the community, and he has proof of that. He has documents inside the city hall. So we are going to provide some sort of custody to the city hall so nobody can come into the city hall. So they were in the street in front of the city hall saying nobody gets in. And they were there for maybe a week.
Wow.
So they call our office, say, hey guys, come here and help. This is going to get out of control. And I arrived to this community and I was talking with these leaders. And this is the first contact to say, hey, we are coming from the national government. This is our role. We would like to have a conversation with you. Please explain to your crowd what we are talking here. And if you are open to, let's go to this hotel, have this conversation, and then we come back together and we explain to the community while we talk. Because talking here in the open is kind of risky. So you cannot kind of control the process of dialogue. And they said, okay, we're going to talk with the guys. And then we went to talk to the hotel. And this is a hotel, these are other public officials, and these are the community leaders, the police. And then, yeah, and then we return and reach an agreement. And the next day, the city hall was free.
But Lou, please don't change this picture. Can you just go back
Yes.
to that picture? Little digression, but what all those no, the next one. I want to the next one.
This one?
No, next one. The one, the one out.
Forward or
Yeah, this
backwards?
one. No, the one
Yeah.
before. No, before this. The one before this.
Wait.
Yeah, this one. Tell us what those pictures are on top. The food there on the pictures up there. Is that Peruvian food or what? Those pictures on top?
Yes, Peruvian food. This is Peruvian food. And these are very kind of regional food from the jungle. So this is not the very typical Peruvian food. But I can send you a link with the best dishes in Peru.
Just picture that. These days we have to be satisfied with just pictures. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we stayed there for like, I don't know, 5 hours talking. Yeah. No water, no, we didn't provide any food, nothing. Yeah. And on the back, you see the police because they are afraid of people coming and.
Okay, so they also had to be satisfied with the pictures.
Yes. You want me to keep going?
Yeah. Now it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. This was a big process in Cusco. This is the Incas flag, and you have here a problem with City Hall and coca leaf farmers, because very complicated to explain, but coca leaf agriculture is legal, but there's just one entity who can buy this and then sell it for people. There's an ancestral tradition to chew coca leaves and kind of give you energy or something. But there's a legal market for this. And then we're having the whole city start going on the streets, and the funny thing is that they are located in a very huge provider of gas, and if this city shuts down, Peru get into big trouble. So we are here. This is the Deputy Minister of Agriculture. This is Giselle. This is me. And we were having this conversation, also mixed conversation, people on the ground, public officials here, and then we reach an agreement. Same procedure, printing, that stuff. This is one kind of, also, I'm here in the screen, and this is the community, and we are having that digital dialogue. So if we didn't have Zoom, we would be in very, very big problems. And this is the picture that I mentioned before, because here you have a lot of public officials. This is a community that blocked a road. And then we were trying to have conversation, but internet didn't help us. And you see all the community with the traditional outfits. Well, internet went down. The people from the Ministry of Mining left. We stay by ourselves as our kind of mediator for the government. And then we had to say, well, we need to address this in another moment because internet is not working. So yeah, that was.
But tell me, Louis, how do the public, all these government officials, how do they take to this whole process?
What do you mean?
Are they receptive to the whole discussion in this manner? Are they okay with that? How does it go?
Well, considering the situation, considering what we were trying to do, we as an office, we publish a digital dialogue protocol. So we issue a norm for everybody in the other regions of the government to use our regulation to facilitate dialogue. So the short question is, well, they have to do it because we say so. Exactly. The other one is we need to educate, and we are providing training for people for other public officials to do better dialogue, negotiation, and that kind of stuff.
No, I'm just thinking of the atmosphere there. Here is one person who's been appointed by the Prime Minister's office, and he's sitting there. And now these government officials, whatever level they are in the government, so what is the kind of conversations they would be open to have? What are they going to be discussing?
Can you say that again? I think I didn't get it.
I mean, when you look, you've been appointed by the Prime Minister's office, and you have government officials who'll be at different levels. So in that sense, are they being able to discuss things the way they should openly, or are they just expecting you to be doing all the talking from the government's perspective? I mean, how does it work there?
Well, reality is that my office work is to prevent social conflict go out of hands. But we do just two things. We facilitate dialogue. We don't make decisions, but we are able to bring in the other branch of the government. And within the executive branch, we bring all the other ministries. So that's a little leverage that we have, because if we find if we find resistance, we kind of call the next people on the rank higher up. And sometimes we need to call the minister to say, hey, your guy is blocking the dialogue, he's not being flexible. And yeah, that's the...
No, I think this is what you're doing is excellent. I think countries need this kind of, I think basically, maybe I'm thinking maybe it's not a good thing, but maybe I think you need to resign and give consultancy to the world. This is a perfect model. This is what, I mean, I've been talking about this, and I think this is exactly what we need. Everything is there. You're doing everything. You're using technology also, and you're working with communities and everything. I think, Louis, I think you need to be out there and give this to governments all over the world. Please.
Happy to go anywhere you take me.
Yes, now we're going to take you through Zoom. That's what's going to happen. And we'll also show you pictures of food from India every time. Yeah. New pictures. But Gunasilan had something to say. Yes, Gunasilan, what were you saying?
Who?
Gunasilan had something.
It's very interesting. Questions. Good evening, Lisa. In fact, Vikram itself is to throw light. However, I would like to clarify the situation. Like a few hours back, and again, about another 12 hours, you're going to involve in an activity where you're going to meet the electoral public as a representative of the government, along with 4 of your colleagues, as the governmental nominated mediators. And you anticipate situations that would arise, which you were expected to handle, whereby you can bring about a management of the situation, escalating uncontrollably for the police to use force or something like that. I mean, that's a scenario which I was able to gather from the conversation which you initially started. Then I saw through all the slides which you have, which Vikram was showing in the screen. You are there amongst a group of people which you say that belong to the community. Because obviously, of course, you are backed by the governmental agencies as well as the authorities, mining authorities, the lakes, and then the other stakeholders involved in the outcome. Now, am I to take it from the way the things are projected? Would you be putting yourselves in the shoes of a spokesman for the government or for the agencies or stakeholders involved? Would that be a preset outcome anticipated for which you drive through the whole process? Like, do you have a strategy worked out, or is there any protocols on that? How do you go about doing these things? Very interestingly, you're speaking to such a large group of people who have their own individual interests, their collective interests, and then one side, the governmental agencies sitting over there, the other side, the stakeholders sitting over there. Like, what was your actual role being appointed by the government for this purpose?
Great question. Very broad question. Yes, we have a process yes, we use methodology. Actually, there were some guides how to do it in the past, but it was very kind of poor developed, I think. Now we are putting in writing, telling the structure and the protocol for what we are doing. So the guys that come in August, they will be able to implement it. And we are hoping that like the 60 people that work in our office under the heads that we are like 4 people, we are hoping that these 60 people say to the newcomer, to a new guy who comes, hey, this is the way we do things here. These are procedures, protocol, and processes. So that's our hope, because I think we're doing things well. So the challenging part, the most challenging part is negotiating the process or designing the process with the communities. And the most challenging one is when you see all these huge crowds, big assemblies. Yes, you cannot have dialogue with all these 200 people around. So we need to make sure that, okay, you please appoint some of the leaders, and we are going to come to a smaller setting, and then we're going to come and explain to you what we did. So that's one of the things. And normally they welcome us because they ask us to come. And it's funny because earlier I said that the Ombudsman Office from the government is the entity with more reputation, and the other branches of the government, the Agricultural Ministry, Education, Health, and Mining, they are not so well seen by the community. But in this period of time, our office is being seen more neutral and independent, because we kind of call out if the company says, hey, you guys need to do this, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and we say, hey, we are neutral, we are facilitating a process. Those decisions need to be reached by you and the community. And to the community, we say the same. So we are very conscious, and we speak up about being neutral and independent. So I always say that one of the best tools, leverage, power that we have is that we are seen as neutral or independent or not biased, at least. But yeah, we need to design the process. We need to talk about how we are going to talk, and set up the right space. And even how we set the table. You saw one of the pictures that were kind of like round, kind of circle stuff. And that's also not shocking, but people say, why you put like circles? We are used to very hierarchical structure, like a all classrooms, like everybody sitting in a line and in front of the big guys in front. So even setting up the room is important.
Yeah. I think that's very important.
And we can be here, and then one of the meetings was in an auditorium, like a basketball court, and you have other people from the community on the steps, I guess. Yeah.
But I think perfect. No, I'm just thinking that in terms of representation from the community, like you said, they asked if there's a large crowd, okay, some people should come in. That, I think, is that easy to do? I mean, how easy is that to have some representatives aspect of it?
To me, it's nice because you tell them, hey guys, you need to select your own representative, and they decide by themselves, and you have a group of people coming and having a big circle or start talking, and we say we need 15 people, so you figure out, we will talk, we just need a 15 people list, and they come with the 15. And sometimes they say, well, can it be 16? Okay, let's do 16. So that's.
But what have you noticed? What have you noticed? Is the loudest person who's chosen, or is the eldest who's chosen? I mean, what have you seen there?
I think it's a mix of all those things. But in the past, from my experience, before coming to this position of facilitating these spaces, the only ones that were listened to were the loudest. And the loudest get the best benefits, individual, and they don't care about the community. So we make a big effort to what? Democratize their voices. Like everybody needs to be heard.
Yeah. Well, I think that is, the most important part, that you have everyone's voice which is heard. And it should not be only because they cannot be that loud, it should not be get lost, because finally, because that settlement has to be implemented also. And if that issue still stays, I think that can be a bit of a problem. But tell us the nicer part about Peru, about your growing up in Peru. What is it like? So something about Peru, something nice things also in terms of the weather, in terms of the place. Is it what, hilly, or is it what is it like?
I think I'm not getting your question.
What is it like living in Peru? That's simple.
Yeah. Okay, I will give you my two answers. People are very loving, connecting, people used to have fun, very happy people in your circles, okay? Like your in group. But also you have the caveat or the problem around that is that you have a society that is very either or mindset and is very, if I don't know you, I don't care about you. So it's a culture of I don't care about anything and it's just me and only me. If I need to, okay, for instance, the elevator doors open and people that are wanting to come in to the elevator, they start coming into the elevator before allowing the people inside go out. Same happened with public transportation. Or you have the bikes, the motorcycles going through the cars and it's like, hey, respect your order. No, why if I can? If I can now, right? So those kind of things that I call the culture of I don't care the other one. Yeah.
So that aspect is where you're talking about what the situation in India is exactly that. So
yes,
in terms of culturally, I think we're quite similar there.
Yes. But besides that, we have an amazing, the best food from the world, I guess. Yeah, and we have all the weather, all the climates, and as I say, we have jungle, we have highlands, we have coast, highlands, and jungle, and yeah.
But otherwise, in terms of growing up in Peru, well, Lima, you grew up in Lima only, did you?
I grew up in Lima, yes. And it was a middle-class family. It was good. I went to a Jesuit school, so I had a lot of values. But my school was like zero English. So I had to go to the States because I wanted to do a master's degree in conflict management, but I first choose an area where I will be forced to learn English instead of being exposed to many Latin communities, because then I will be having fun with the Hispanic community and never learn English. So
okay. So but otherwise in Peru, if you know English, I mean, you only know English, can you get around, or is it you have to know Spanish?
No, now you're good. Yeah.
Okay.
If you say hola, like hello or cheers, salute, and yeah, you're good enough to go around.
Okay, that's not bad. But Rafaela has been listening with great intent. Rafaela, I'm sure you want to ask Luis something.
Well, I want to thank you for this very interesting and exciting webinar. I want to thank you, Ms. Ore, Luis, very interesting. I think the pandemic gave and has given us a great opportunity and chance to connect with each other from all over the world, sharing experience and learn from each other. And that's why I love the Mediators Club. I'm a lawyer, I'm a practicing lawyer. And but the community, the mediators community is so unique and special. And I learned, and I'm still learning a lot from all the mediators from all over the world. So I thank you for this experience. And please, Vikram, keep on organizing your webinar. I apologize, this is my first time. I regret I didn't have the time before, but I will keep on following.
But Rafaela, you will never refer to this as a webinar. This is just my living room. This is just a conversation in my living room. It will always be like that. We will never call it a webinar. It's never going to be that kind of a serious structure ever.
Thank you very much.
But you don't want to ask Louis anything? With all this he's told you about the entire community mediation and everything. Any questions for him? Yes, Rafaela, any questions for Louis?
While Luis was talking, I thought, and I'm asking Luis if he's, according to his experience, if he agrees on that. The job of a mediator, of an ombudsman, is kind of vehicle to give people the chance to felt heard. That's what I was thinking while you were talking about your experience. So in your job and in your experience, do you have any other goal in your mind, or do you think there's another core achievement or any thought in this respect? From your experience that make you think about?
Yeah, you know what? Listening to others is not just only, yeah, I heard you. Of course, we know that, oh, I listen to you and I understand what you're saying, what you're feeling. But that's kind of the norm. But to me, and the spaces or the places where I engage with people and communities, the fact that we give ear to somebody is kind of recognizing their dignity. So in my head I recognize your dignity when I'm listening to you, right? It's more deep and meaningful that normal people think, oh, you're not listening to me. Well, it's not about that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But Lisa definitely wants to ask you something. It's not that Lisa normally has always something to say, but either she's, yes, Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay.
You made my husband laugh. Luis, so, following on that thread, of course, it's always fun to hear you. And I love the excitement that and what you just said. I'm like, oh, I like that giving dignity, listening, because that's something I believe very deeply. But that leads me to think, also, as Vikram was trying to say, so what was it, in your youth, you mentioned going to the Jesuit, learning with the Jesuits where your values were, but what made you so excited about conflict resolution? What drove you towards this field in your childhood or in your experiences?
That's another deep, awesome question. I went to a Jesuit school. I think I was a happy kid, but I don't remember much of my childhood because when I was 10, my parents got divorced and I kind of suffered a lot. And then I was a rebel kid. I used to be a punk I used to have a mohawk.
Wow.
Then I was
Those pictures, Louis, we need those pictures.
yeah, I use a leather jacket with pins and chains and yeah. Then I think I grew up and I went to law school. But I went to law school and wait, when I was finishing high school, I ran into a book, It Getting to Yes, Roger Fisher and William Ury. And I don't know if I was curious and I ran into the book or my dad just see it and put it there and make me to run into the book. I read the book, it was fun. And then I went to law school and learned about negotiation, mediation. I finished law school, I started practicing law. And then I realized, well, you have winners and losers and not everybody's happy. And it's not that I want everybody in the world dance kumbaya, but I want to see smiles on faces and have people a little bit happier than what they are. And if they have a conflict, is there any way they can both at least satisfy? And then I had a friend and she came to me and she said, Luis, this guy, my husband, I want to get divorced. He's yada, yada, yada. He's X, Y, and Z. So I want to get rid of him. I want the kids. I want the money. I want everything. I say, okay. And I didn't practice family law, but it was like, for friends, you do some stuff, right? So, okay, let's do that. And then at the end, she kind of won the case. She got the money. She got the kids. And I said, well, dear, are you happy? And she said, no. What do you mean? You got everything you wanted. Well, I wanted that this piece of whatever asked me forgiveness for what he did to me. And he took all my youth. And I was like, oh, okay. But you cannot get that in a trial, in the court system. So it were many things that draw me to, well, maybe mediation, negotiation, this is what is going to make people happier. And that's what I want to do. So in 2000, I said, I'm going to the United States to study a master in this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Kathleen wants to say something. Yes, Kathleen.
Luis, thank you so much. It was fascinating listening to you. I want to be you when I grow up. I want to go out and do all these things that you're doing.
But Kathleen, we don't want you to grow up. We don't want you to grow up.
But I'm particularly curious about one thing. As you take mediation out to your country, usually mediation comes to our mediation table, right? When you go out into the streets, two things. How do you identify yourself? I'm a mediator badge. And then secondly, Luis, how do you build trust? Because trust and rapport is such a big deal. How do you build trust in the streets? Please educate us on that.
When you ask how you build trust on the streets, picturing what I'm going to be Sunday with the police and the crowds, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm going to do. But in other settings, kind of rule of thumb is to listen to other, and that the other one feels that I really care for what the other one is saying. So it's kind of listening, being genuinely curious about, like, wanting to know what's bothering, annoying, tormenting somebody else. So it's listening, like purposely listening to other, to really deeply understand. And when the other one feels that, I think when he thinks, well, maybe this guy really cares about my problem, I think that's when hope for trust start building. How I identify myself, like physically, I have a badge and I have for the government, right? badge and a vest. But when I introduce myself, I always say that I'm a recovery attorney, like Alcohólicos Anonymous. I'm an attorney in recovery because the attorney is taught to defend a cause, to fight against each other. And my cause is to design a process where everybody can be heard. That's kind of my pitch.
So in the streets, Luis, is it important for you to give direct eye contact? And do you reiterate, do you use the words they use when they're talking to you, when you validate? Are those some direct skills?
Right. Yeah, I need to speak through their mindset. I mean, I need to speak in a way that they will understand and make click with my message. And yes, eye contact. And the only thing that I remember about neuro-linguistic programming, when they talk about rapport, is like, if the other one is putting like themselves like this, is, well, maybe you will put like this. And I never use that, but that if sometimes comes to my mind, well, I may use it, right? Yeah.
Luis, how many people can you talk to at the same time? This reminds me of like being a bartender. One person behind the bar serving drinks, and all of a sudden all these people approach the bar. Like, how many people can you talk to at the same time?
Awesome question, because you have everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk. So that's why it's so important to have your ground rules, one speaker at a time. But when many people start talking, I say something like this. Wait a second. I want to listen to everybody. I have 2 ears, but I have 1 brain. So I can process a conversation, 1 conversation at a time. So please, I want to listen to each of one, like individually. Yeah. So people laugh when I say I have 2 ears, but I can listen just 1 conversation because I have 1 brain. So, yeah.
But then, Louis, what is the situation with private mediation in Peru?
With what?
Private mediation.
Private. Honestly, there's no much private mediation. No, I mentioned that we have these centros de conciliación, conciliation centers, but they are not very recognized. Yeah.
But any specific reason for that?
I don't know. I think that the conciliation process trying to enforce the application of or applying the conciliation maybe jeopardize the idea or the market. I don't know.
No, but in your the conciliation process is what? Is it actually just suggesting, or is it actually more than that?
For some legal cases, it's a requirement to go to conciliation center when you have a conciliator, and the conciliator receive a claim, then he or she invites the parties, and if nobody comes, that was it, require comply. So,
but otherwise, if the process goes through, I mean, if the conciliation happens, then is there enforceability of that?
Yes. If you get an agreement, it's like a judicial
court decree. Yeah, court decree. So basically, I think your law would be similar to, when was that law passed? Which year?
93, 94, 95.
Okay, so I think what you've done is what we did. In 1996, we got this conciliation in India, which was what the UNCITRAL had given this model law in conciliation. I think you adopted it. I think we also adopted it. And it was the best law. According to me, the law is perfect. It's just that I don't know where, who went wrong, where they went wrong. In 25 years, it was something which could have easily developed. So I think we have to understand what really happened there.
Well, I have the belief that we have amazing laws, but unfortunately, people are the ones that apply the law. So we have many people that are very either or mindset. I win, you lose. And that's what
No, the problem here, what I noticed here is that actually there is, I mean, people don't even know that law exists. And the ones who know that the law exists don't want to tell people. The lawyers might know about it, but they don't want to tell people about it. I think that's how I look at it. Kathleen and I are kind of working together to try and promote mediation in India. And she's actually working with students, a lot of law students. So we're trying to create an army of people, of these students to go out to actually educate.
A team.
Army. It's an army. It's a revolution. Louise, it's a dispute resolution revolution. So she's doing, I mean, she's getting people together because she's, like I said, she's done a lot of work with students there. She now is also doing a training for students there, and she's been part of a lot of workshops with them. So we feel that these people can be sent out, but not only to educate, but actually become kind of case managers. So they will help the community identify the mediators with the people with the mediator mindset in the community, then also kind of case managers, and get the people to understand what mediation is and actually get them to use it, get the parties together. So we're trying to create that kind of full structure. And I think we just started. I mean, we're getting we got some people together. What do you, Kathleen, you want to tell Louis more about that also?
Yeah, we have to learn to travel over hill and dale like you do to get to the villages.
Yeah,
it's exciting because I was trained in Massachusetts as a volunteer mediator. We were in a project developed by MWI out of Boston, mediation project, where we could walk into court, have our own judges as a mediator, take their case from them, write and draft full and complete divorces as family court, and return back to the court with an agreement that the judge would approve 99% of the time, which saved the judge's time. So Vikram and I are trying to morph these ideas about court. And then the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996 in India says that anybody can be a conciliator. So Vikram's really working hard with developing that concept of the mediator mindset in the villages. So to merge these two ideas and through law students can create this energy and movement. Because Vikram, how many law students are there in India? 250,000, or is it 500,000?
More than 500,000.
Yeah, so we've got the numbers, we've got the math, right?
Louis, we are 1.3. Yeah, we 1.3 billion people. So I think 500,000 law students is not much.
But we have to start somewhere.
Louis got a little this thing. He said, no, Kathleen is saying something wrong. It could not be 500,000, but yeah.
If you need more arms, please recruit me. I will be a happy military guy with you guys.
You are part of the thing. You're going to take this whole community thing. I'm telling you, this is so important. I mean, for India and everywhere in the world, we have to take this forward. And what you're doing putting this all together, you got everything going now. We just have to take this package and now do that and create that atmosphere and start using it. I think ideal what you're doing.
In addition, as Vikram mentioned earlier, if we could gather mediators around the world, like 100,000 mediators, and descend upon a city or a state for a week and mediate, 4 cases a day and help reduce that caseload, wouldn't that be amazing if we had that stretch and reach for each other?
And this online world, I mean, they're not difficult. Because Louis, the whole idea was that I'm trying to put this, what I call the mediators collective. I'm trying to get at least 1,000 of these people all over the world. And I'm just asking those 1,000 that you get 1,000 people with you. These people with a mediator mindset. We have 1 million people out there. And we have these law students to start with. There can be other students. They are the army who go out and talk to people about mediation. We can actually create a very nice structure all over the world. I mean, I'm telling you, it's all possible. And I think with you people, with your experience and everything, we have to get everyone together. Rafaela is there, Gunaselina is there, Lisa has a lot of experience, a lot of people. I mean, it's just something which I think can be done. And you can tell us more about how it can be done with your experience.
Yeah, maybe we can talk later. Yes.
Yeah, we will do that. We'll do that. Yeah.
Louise, have you heard of Communities at Work out of California? Your work sounds similar to them.
Heard what?
Community at Work out of California. Your work sounds similar to them. They facilitate huge congregations of people, as you do.
Yeah.
And they also they train. I was with them out of Tacoma, Washington. There's a mediation center there that I volunteer for. I'm certified with, and they sound like you. You just do it over hill and dale.
No, no, I'm telling you, that's what we really need, actually need, because this is where you have to be right there with the people where they are and where they're comfortable with. I think that's an excellent thing.
Yeah. For real, I will be happy to talk with you guys later.
Perfect.
I have 9 minutes if you want to have any question or anything else, because then I have to jump into another meeting.
But just to give us what you think, your vision of how the role of mediators in social problem solving and global problem solving, just give us one view on that, which we of course kind of discussed, but we need a
well, I think we need to do as a mediators is to jump out of our two-party conflict into a more multi-party social engaging larger groups. So if you add mediation with a little more like facilitation of these big groups, that would be amazing, because we can foster better conversations. We can foster dialogue to reach solutions about complex problems. Because I strongly believe that complex problems cannot be resolved just only by power-based approaches or even legal-based approaches, because then you will have winners and losers, and then you will want revenge at some point of time. So consensus based approaches, integrative negotiation to integrate different multiple interests, that would be key for complex problems. And I think we are instrumental. We are the ones who can help reach those visions or goals.
But I mean, I won't ask you the negative question. I will. One negative part would be, why hasn't mediation developed in most parts of the world? But I'll ask you a positive thing. How do we create that culture of mediation in? You could be Peru or in the world. So what are your thoughts on that?
Because I think people, it's hard for people to change that mindset if they don't go through the experience of aha moment and realizing themselves. So that's why I believe that training is so key, and kind of role playing, saying, oh, this stuff works and it gives us better results. Oh, then let's try to use it, right? It's like people are kind of skeptical. I mean, I don't believe on that. But when you leave it, it's like, oh, this works. So I would say we need to do mediation or peer mediation training or negotiation, mutual gains approach in all schools in the world, in all, like, not high school, just when we're kids, like little kids. And that will give us a different way to see things.
Look, my thought process on that a little different. What I'm trying to do is get the training out of the picture. What I'm trying to say is that, I started that conversation, that we start talking to the children and ask them that you yourselves have experienced the mediation word is something that might not know, but they're already doing it in the schools. So we've had these conversations, and it's so interesting that the children themselves had spoken about the whole process. Everything that everyone wants to tell them, they already know. So I had these yesterday also I had a conversation with some children that Kathleen had kind of initiated. Exactly, they know everything what they have to do. But
yes,
I mean, so I'm yeah.
But when I'm saying training, is not, it doesn't need to be, oh, we are the guys who know the thing and you need to learn. It's more like I don't know if the word is elicitive. Is like bringing their knowledge to the surface, or to experiences to the surface, and we plant the seeds with these, like, that bullet points of things, like how you get rid of your enemy. Well, you turn them into your friends.
Well, my approach has been that we will identify those with the mediator mindset in schools, communities, and around them, then we create this whole atmosphere of the culture with it. But Alexander is here. He's in Brazil. I'm sure you know him. You know him? You don't know him? Okay. Alexander is trying to unmute, but you'll have to do it again, Alexander. Yeah.
Hello. Sorry to
Hi.
be here only now, but it's a pleasure to hear you all. A hug
Hi,
from
Alexander.
Luis from Peru. I love Peru.
Awesome. I would say I love Brazil too, but
Yes.
Alexander,
I think everybody must go to Peru, and I recommend Puno and Cusco, and also Machu Picchu, of course.
okay, let me tell you, Alexander, never say that to India. If 1.3 billion people land up there, there will be no Peru after that.
Luis will prepare ceviche for everybody. You can come
will.
all from India.
I will, and pisco sour as well. That's
Great.
a national drink.
But
Yeah.
Louis, what happened was Alexander facilitated a very nice conversation I had with Pablo from Colombia. We were discussing the mediation in Colombia. So he was very kind to facilitate that, because language is a little bit of an issue that I'm facing in South America. So I think that part of it we need. I mean, Alexander comes in for that kind of a thing. He's been nice to do that.
Awesome. Wonderful. Guys, I have 2 minutes. Can we use those 2 minutes?
Let me just ask everyone to unmute, and they can say bye to you and thank you, because what you've told them is something that they have to take back. And I think we need to just work on what you're doing. I think this is ideal. So anyone, please, you can all talk together or one by one, your wish.
Luis, you're an amazing personality. The exuberance you have shown,
Thank you.
and the body language,
Okay.
the approach to the communities.
Yeah. Okay. But only thing is, he has 2 minutes and everyone has to say something. So you just say bye.
So
Okay.
much. It was a lovely experience. Thank you so much. It was lovely. Absolutely lovely conversation.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, good night, Sila.
Yes, Rafaela, you want to
Rafaela.
say? Okay, so you want to say bye to him? That's easy. Just bye is the only option.
Bye from Italy. Hopefully we'll have the chance to meet each other at some international conference or site like ICC. I don't know if or international competition, mediation competition somewhere in the world.
Yeah, we can connect through LinkedIn. So if we are getting connected in LinkedIn, will be awesome.
Okay. So Louis, we'll have a conversation later and we'll discuss how we should take this forward into other places. Thank you very much for coming in, and I think
it was
excellent, great experience.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vikram.
Thank you. See you.
Bye. Bye.
No. Yes, everyone. Now let me just end the